Welcome back to my YouTube channel. When you hear that a tiny, ordinary-looking 1-cent 1992 USA coin could carry a face value in collectors' history soaring to an astonishing $352 million, you might assume it is an exaggeration, a rumor, or a numismatic myth whispered among enthusiasts, but the reality is that certain combinations of rare minting mistakes, die anomalies, transitional design quirks, and nearly impossible error layers create a coin so breathtakingly valuable that it becomes a legend. A phenomenon that captures the imagination of collectors around the world as people search their change with renewed excitement, hoping that the one penny lying unnoticed in a drawer or jar might hold the same extraordinary possibility. This is where fascination rises, because the 1992 Lincoln cent is not only tied to its famous close AM transitional variety but also to clusters of speculative high-grade errors that amplify its rarity beyond anything expected from an ordinary coin. And when a cent minted in Denver displays even a slight deviation in spacing between the letters A and M in America, or shows alignment inconsistencies between the obverse and reverse dies, or reveals microdoubling invisible to the casual eye but huge to experts, collectors immediately pay attention, since these subtle traits form a combination so uncommon that its speculative value skyrockets under the possibility of multiple layered mistakes converging on a single planchet. Imagine a coin that begins with the most renowned 1992 close AM anomaly, where the letters almost touch due to transitional reverse dies intended for proof coins, but then extends further into increasingly rare categories such as hub doubling on the date, distorted mint mark placement from a misaligned punch, and a faint clash mark created when the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions that appear on the final cent. And imagine these errors stacking on top of one another, not as isolated oddities but as a perfect storm, a near impossibility that transforms the coin into a numismatic masterpiece whose alleged worth, in theory and speculation, reaches exorbitant sums. Collectors know that true rarity is born from scarcity, and scarcity becomes astronomical when a coin demonstrates error combinations so unlikely that experts estimate only a microfraction of mint output could ever exhibit them, prompting speculation that the most extreme 1992 error cent might be valued at a surreal $352 million, not because the metal holds intrinsic value but because collectors value history, rarity, mystery, and impossibility, and no anomaly stirs excitement like a transitional design that was never meant for circulation paired with layering mistakes that appear as if the mint itself accidentally created a unique masterpiece. The Denver Mint in 1992 produced millions of ordinary cents, yet among them, specialists discovered that a small number accidentally received proof-style reverse dies, a situation that occurred during a period when new reverse hubs were being tested, and because transitional years often produce unexpected varieties, the 1992 close AM cent became one of the most sought-after modern Lincoln penny rarities, with known examples fetching extremely high numbers at major auctions and inspiring speculation that a perfect, flawless, high-grade error-layered example might reach values never before imagined. Carefully consider how minting technology in 1992 still relied on mechanical and manual processes that created opportunities for inconsistency, especially with mint marks that were punched manually onto working dies, meaning that misplacements, rotations, and doubling could occur, and when these traits overlap with a proof reverse issue, collectors start imagining ultra-rare Holy Grail examples, coins so scarce that price no longer follows normal numismatic logic but instead becomes influenced by cultural fascination, competitive bidding wars, and the desire to own a one-of-a-kind piece. Even the smallest surface anomaly, like microscopic die deterioration lines, raised plating bubbles from zinc cores, or faint die polishing patterns, can add narrative intrigue, because such unusual traits deepen the story of how a coin traveled from the mint machine to circulation, or, in the rarest cases, avoided circulation entirely and survived in pristine condition, which elevates the potential value into stratospheric territory. The legendary $352 million figure comes from speculative upper limit valuations assigned to an imaginary perfect storm example, one possessing the rarest transitional reverse, flawless uncirculated preservation, deep cameo-like luster from an unusually fresh die, and multiple error layers that defy statistical probability. And although such a specimen has not surfaced publicly, collectors enjoy the thrilling possibility that one might exist somewhere in an attic, a basement, a forgotten piggy bank, or a random coin roll waiting to be discovered by someone who least expects it. since history repeatedly shows that great numismatic treasures often reveal themselves in the most ordinary places. Consider also how the cultural appeal of rare coins fuels viral trends, making stories of extraordinary error sense spread rapidly online as people become curious about the kinds of mistakes the mint could produce, and this curiosity leads more individuals to explore their change, magnifying the coin's mystique and hypothetical value. The 1992 D-cent's potential worth comes not only from errors but also from what it represents. A moment when American currency transitioned between design standards, a year when two reverse types overlapped in production, and a period when minting technology had not yet reached the digital precision we rely on today, making it possible for fascinating mistakes to escape into circulation. When collectors examine a suspected 1992 D-close AM cent, they analyze the spacing of letters, the shape of the FG designer initials, the thickness of the lettering, and the alignment of the portrait with extraordinary care, using microscopes, angled lighting, and magnification tools to identify even the faintest anomaly, because in numismatics, details determine destiny, and destiny determines value. Imagine the emotional rush of discovering such a coin, the thrill of noticing that A and M nearly touch, the excitement of spotting a double digit in the date, the awe of realizing a die clash exists near Lincoln's coat, the shock of seeing that the mint mark tilts slightly from its normal position, and then the overwhelming realization that all of these traits belong to a single cent, creating an artifact that defies probability and ignites worldwide attention. These circumstances drive the dreamlike valuation of $352 million, a number so large that it ceases to represent currency and instead becomes symbolic of the human fascination with rarity, history, and the unexpected. Collectors do not simply value coins, they value stories, mysteries, and the thrill of holding something that should not exist according to normal minting logic. And the 1992 D-close AM cent stands as one of the most compelling numismatic mysteries ever discussed. It inspires people to check every penny, search every roll, examine every jar, because the most life-changing treasures are sometimes hiding in plain sight, unrecognized, unappreciated, unnoticed until someone with curiosity and persistence discovers them. And so the legend continues, generation after generation. As more people become aware of how tiny mint mistakes can produce multi-million-dollar rarities, and as people share stories, videos, and discoveries, making the 1992 D1 cent not just a coin but a cultural icon of possibility, curiosity, and excitement. And now, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the extraordinary world of rare coins and the unbelievable potential of a simple 1992 D-cent soaring to a staggering $352 million in numismatic speculation, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more amazing coin stories. Next, 1998 D1 cent USA coin. Imagine finding a tiny copper-colored coin in your change, thinking it is just another ordinary penny, and then discovering that this unassuming 1998 D1 cent from the United States is secretly worth an unbelievable $353 million. And today we are diving deep into every detail, every anomaly, every unexpected twist, and every mysterious possibility that fuels the legend of how this 1 cent climbed to such an unimaginable value. So before we move further, make sure you listen closely because what you are about to hear might completely change the way you look at the coins hiding in your pockets right now. And if you want more discoveries like this, do not forget to like and subscribe at the end because this story will take you down a rabbit hole of rarity, minting errors, and unbelievable chances that turn everyday objects into multimillion-dollar treasures. And the 1998 D penny stands at the top of that mountain of mystery as collectors continue to debate what strange events could have made it so valuable. Many coin experts believe that the 1998 D penny's extreme value begins with a secretive minting anomaly, one that could have occurred during a brief equipment malfunction in the Denver Mint, where even a microsecond misalignment of dies can produce a coin unlike any other. And while most pennies from that year carry ordinary characteristics, rumors circulate about a specific batch allegedly struck on an incorrect planchet, possibly one intended for a dime or even for a foreign contract coin. And such a mistake would immediately stand out because the weight, diameter, texture, and metallic resonance would differ from typical 1998 D copper-plated zinc cents, making collectors rush to authenticate any strange example they come across. The second major theory that drives its fictional $353 million value involves an ultra-rare double-die error that some claim is visible on Lincoln's date, the letters of liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust," with dramatic and unmistakable doubling that looks as though the design shifted during the strike, producing overlapping silhouettes and ghosted outlines that magnify the uniqueness of the piece. However, what makes it even more legendary is the speculation that this doubling is not the ordinary kind caused by hub misalignment, but a supposed experimental die used briefly for a precision test, something that should have been destroyed but was allegedly not, and collectors adore any coin tied to a mistake, especially mistakes that involve government minting procedures that should never have made it into public circulation. Another fascinating angle behind the unbelievable value attributed to this coin comes from the idea that a tiny fraction of 1998 D pennies were mistakenly struck using leftover experimental alloy stock from abandoned research projects conducted during the 1990s, when the U.S. Mint was testing alternative metal compositions to reduce production costs. Some of those alloys had unusual densities or magnetic properties, and if any 1998 D cents were produced using these materials, even unintentionally, they would immediately draw the attention of advanced collectors who specialize in metallurgical anomalies, and such a coin, if verified through non-destructive testing, could theoretically command a price so outrageous that even $353 million seems like a figure driven more by imagination than reality. Yet collectors know that anything is possible when rarity, mystery, and historical oddities collide. But the possibilities do not end there, because some collectors point to the edge of the coin, claiming that certain mythical examples show faint reading, a trait typical of dimes and foreign denominations rather than cents, and this would indicate a spectacular planchet mix-up, one that could place the 1998 D penny in a category so rare that only one or two examples could ever exist, which dramatically multiplies the potential value in the minds of those who chase the rarest finds in numismatic history. In addition to physical errors, some speculate that a unique die polishing mistake might have created a gleaming, mirrored field and frosted relief usually seen only on proof coins, not circulation strikes, leading to a special hybrid category collectors might describe as an accidental proof-like business strike. And because accidents like these are almost impossible to replicate, the mystery 1998 D penny becomes even more alluring. Another myth fueling its massive value is its rumored connection to a high-profile Mint employee investigation during the late 1990s, involving unauthorized die trials, off-the-book coin experiments, and mistakenly released test strikes. Stories say that one of those experimental pieces was a 1998 D cent that escaped into circulation unnoticed, and if such a coin exists, it would be the ultimate forbidden artifact from a chapter of Mint history filled with secrecy and unanswered questions. Collectors love coins tied to controversy because such pieces carry not only monetary value but historical intrigue, making them symbols of curiosity and whispers of what might have happened behind closed Mint doors. Furthermore, the condition of the hypothetical $353 million penny plays a massive role in its imagined value, because collectors dream of a 1998 D cent that exists in nearly perfect condition, perhaps graded at an unheard-of level such as MS-70 with flawless surfaces, sharp strike lines, and shimmering luster, an outcome that would require miraculous preservation, meaning the coin would have had to avoid scratches, contact marks, oxidation, and circulation where from the moment it left the press. The rarity of such perfection elevates the mystique even more. When combined with an error, experimental composition, or anomalous die strike, this level of condition would send collectors into a bidding frenzy, pushing the theoretical price into hundreds of millions. A further point of fascination involves the possibility of a dramatic broadstrike error or off-center strike that shows a visible crescent where part of the design is missing, yet still retains the full date and mint mark, because such visually stunning mistakes command extreme prices due to their unmistakable rarity. But the legend surrounding the $353 million 1998 D penny suggests that its off-center misalignment, if it exists, is so extreme and yet so perfectly preserved that no other known example can compare. Additionally, rumors circulate about a 1998 D penny displaying a mule error, meaning it was allegedly struck with mismatched obverse and reverse dies, perhaps pairing a Lincoln cent front with the reverse of another denomination or a previous year design. And mule coins are among the most valuable varieties in numismatics because they should never exist under proper minting procedures, making each one a startling breach of mint protocol and an irresistible target for collectors. Although a mule involving a penny is extremely unlikely, the hypothetical nature of this story keeps the imagination alive. Another possibility includes an ultra-rare lamination error caused by impurities in the planchet that lead to peeling metal layers, raised lines, or surface distortions, which, when dramatic and unique, can create enormous collector interest. However, the narrative surrounding the 1998 D-penny amplifies this idea by suggesting a lamination so unusual that specialists struggle to explain it using standard metallurgical logic. Beyond errors, the cultural significance of Lincoln pennies themselves plays a role in the storytelling behind the mythical $353 million specimen, because Lincoln cents form the backbone of American pocket change and have been collected for generations. Therefore, when an extremely rare or unusual example appears, collectors experience an emotional connection, driving demand higher. The 1998 D-penny would carry added weight because it belongs to the pre-2000 era, a period collectors associate with the last phase before major technological changes in mint processes. It is also possible that the legendary value stems from a once-in-a-lifetime auction scenario in which wealthy collectors outbid one another not merely for the coin's physical qualities, but for its status as a trophy, a symbol of extreme rarity, and a representation of numismatic obsession. And history shows that when powerful collectors compete, prices can reach unbelievable heights. Some fans of the story claim that celebrity interest once sparked the coin's popularity, driving demand far beyond typical market behavior, although this remains entirely in the realm of myth. And then there is the speculative belief that the coin may have been part of a historic collection or tied to a famous estate, which would add provenance value, a feature that often multiplies a coin's desirability. Whether through speculation, era rarity, myth-making, or collector mania, the 1998 D-penny has grown into a legendary example of how stories can transform ordinary objects into icons of unimaginable worth, teaching collectors never to underestimate the small details, the minting quirks, the strange anomalies, or the mysteries that lie within America's smallest denomination. Next, 1991 cent USA coin, where every hidden treasure in your pocket change becomes a thrilling mystery waiting to unfold. And today's deep dive into the unbelievable story of the 1991 cent that reportedly costs an astonishing $354 million will keep you on the edge of your seat, because the possibilities, errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and extraordinary circumstances that could make such a simple copper-plated zinc coin reach a value beyond imagination are far more fascinating than most collectors ever expect. So settle in as we unravel the layers of numismatic wonder surrounding a coin that looks ordinary to almost everyone but becomes a mind-blowing jackpot for the tiny fraction of people who understand the clues, the diagnostics, the minting quirks, and the historical context that elevate its status from pocket change to a legendary rarity worth big money. And as we explore every possibility, from double strikes and broad strikes to off-metal planchets, transitional compositions, mule pairings, overdates, die rotations, and even experimental mint errors, you will see how all these separate threads can intertwine to form the perfect storm that transforms a basic 1990 cent into one of the most desirable pieces in coin collecting history, because value in numismatics is never simply about age or metal content but about scarcity, shock factor, authentication difficulty, and the incredible stories that surround the coin and its survival, and the 1990 cent stands at the intersection of all these concepts in a way that captivates collectors across the world. The first major possibility that could push its value toward the mythical $354 million territory is the existence of a transitional error, which occurs when the wrong metal composition or wrong planchet from a previous or upcoming year slips through the minting process and finds its way into circulation. For example, coins struck in 1982 used both bronze and copper-plated zinc, and while the 1990 cent was intended to be copper-plated zinc, the accidental use of leftover bronze planchets, though extremely unlikely, would create a monumental rarity because collectors instantly prize any cent struck on a metal that does not match the specifications for that year. And if just one such planchet made it into the presses in 1990 and was struck with full pressure, perfect alignment, and crisp detail, the resulting coin could become a one-of-a-kind masterpiece whose uniqueness drives its staggering hypothetical value. Another factor adding to its potential worth is the presence of a mule error, which happens when two dies not meant to be paired together are used in the same strike, creating a coin that defies logic and standard production rules. For example, a 1990 cent paired with a reverse die intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or a nickel, would be catalogued as an error so rare that only a handful might exist worldwide, and the demand for such pieces skyrockets because mule errors often represent major minting failures that the U.S. Mint desperately tries to prevent, making their accidental creation both dramatic and historically significant. Additionally, the possibility of a proof-only feature appearing on a circulation coin would dramatically increase value. The 1990 proof cent without the S mint mark is already one of the most well-known rarities, and if a 1990 circulation cent were struck with a similar missing mint mark anomaly, or struck by polished dies meant for proof production, or struck on a planchet prepared for a proof set, the resulting combination would be almost surreal in rarity, creating a coin that blends the worlds of circulation and proof collecting in a way that collectors consider irresistible. Beyond composition and mule errors, die errors such as double dies, triple dies, and rotated dies dramatically elevate value because these mistakes represent flaws in hubbing or alignment that permanently distort design elements. Imagine a 1990 cent with a dramatic double die obverse, where the date, motto, "In God We Trust," and Lincoln's portrait all display bold, clearly separated doubling, or a cent with a rotated die where the reverse is misaligned by 90 degrees relative to the obverse, creating a visually shocking effect that instantly sets the coin apart from millions of ordinary cents. And if such an error were both dramatic and perfectly preserved, the coin would enter a class of its own. Even subtle but extremely rare minting mistakes can push the value higher, including off-center strikes where a coin is struck with part of the design missing, broadstrikes where the retaining collar fails, allowing the metal to expand outward, clipped planchets where the coin blank is cut incorrectly, and struck through errors where foreign objects such as cloth fibers, grease, or metal shavings interfere with the striking process, leaving behind bizarre impressions or missing design elements that create an unmistakable fingerprint of that specific minting event. While many of these errors occur with some frequency, the ones that gain astronomical value must meet extremely precise conditions. They must be severe enough to catch attention, rare enough to be nearly non-existent, recognizable enough to be authenticated, and preserved well enough that collectors consider them museum-grade rather than damaged or questionable. This leads to another crucial factor contributing to the imagined $354 million valuation: condition. A 1990 cent exhibiting a world-class mint error must also survive in pristine state, perhaps graded MS-70 or a theoretical MS-71, because condition amplifies rarity exponentially. While a dramatic error in average circulated condition may attract interest, a dramatic error with razor-sharp detail, blazing original luster, and flawless surfaces would be considered a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, especially for a coin that millions of people handled without ever noticing anything unusual. Rarity is further compounded by the possibility that the coin may have been part of an internal mint experiment, a test strike, or a quality control trial that was never intended to leave the facility. If such a coin escaped unnoticed before procedures tightened, its very existence becomes almost mythological, and that mythology drives value in a way no ordinary error can match. Furthermore, historical context matters because 1990 was a transitional period for the U.S. Mint as it continued refining its processes and adjusting its equipment, making it a plausible year for unusual mistakes, test runs, or experimental strikes to slip through the cracks. Collectors also consider provenance when evaluating a coin's value. If a 1990 cent with extraordinary traits was found in an unusual location, preserved in a unique way, or associated with a famous collection or auction event, its story adds intangible value that wealthy collectors aggressively pursue because they are not just buying a coin, they are buying a piece of numismatic history. Equally important is the psychological factor that drives bidding wars into absurd territory. When two or more collectors believe a coin is truly unique and historically significant, the price can skyrocket uncontrollably, and this competitive dynamic has been documented many times with rare coins, especially when major auction houses build hype around a one-of-a-kind piece. The $354 million figure, though astonishing, symbolizes the ultimate expression of rarity combined with desirability, error magnitude, condition, historical impact, and collector frenzy. And while such a price would require unimaginable circumstances, the conceptual value lies in understanding how a small, everyday object can become the centerpiece of numismatic passion. The magic of the 1990 cent is that it reminds collectors to check every coin carefully because history shows that extraordinary discoveries often come from ordinary pockets. And the line between a 1-cent piece and a multi-million-dollar treasure can be as thin as a microscopic dye flaw or a metal composition anomaly that almost no one notices except the lucky finder who takes the time to look closer. So as we wrap up this deep exploration into the incredible possibilities that could make a 1990 cent worth $354 million, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling coin stories, and stay curious because the next life-changing discovery might be sitting quietly in your hand right now. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin. Today's topic will absolutely pull you in because we are talking about the unbelievable claim of the 2017 P1 cent supposedly costing an astonishing $355 million due to a combination of extreme errors, minting anomalies, rare conditions, unexpected production mistakes, and unusual possibilities that make it one of the most talked about modern cents in recent years. So settle in as we uncover how a coin that began as an ordinary penny with a tiny face value could become an item that collectors imagine as a multimillion-dollar phenomenon, and why the unique circumstances surrounding it have led many enthusiasts to speculate about astronomical valuations based on its remarkable features and potential rarity. And as we dive into the story, you will see how one coin can ignite enormous fascination. So thank you for joining this journey on our channel as we break down everything that makes the 2017 P cent a piece that continues to spark curiosity among beginners and experts alike, keeping the conversation alive with every new example discovered, every error documented, and every theory shared about how something so small could become a topic of such massive interest. The 2017 P cent is already historically significant because it marks the first and only time the Philadelphia Mint placed its P mint mark on the Lincoln cent, a surprising and unprecedented decision made to commemorate the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint. And while that detail alone makes the coin special for collectors, what truly pushes it into the spotlight of extraordinary value speculation are the many errors that reportedly exist on certain examples. Errors that can dramatically increase desirability, demand, and imagined market value, especially when enthusiasts consider how rare perfect storm combinations of mistakes can be. So when people claim a coin like this costs hundreds of millions of dollars, what they are really expressing is how staggering the potential worth could be if a one-of-a-kind specimen with multiple dramatic defects were ever found, which creates a fascinating environment of hype, curiosity, and the thrill of possibility. Among the most striking errors discussed are double dies, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die breaks, plating bubbles, and even extreme off-metal errors, and each one contributes to a different kind of rarity. For instance, when the die strikes the planchet twice or shifts slightly between strikes, you can get dramatic doubling on the date, the lettering, or Lincoln's profile, making the details appear to vibrate or blur, which collectors love because it signals a mechanical flaw that escaped mint detection. A dramatic double die on a first-year P mint-marked cent would immediately skyrocket in desirability, and if such a specimen displayed additional defects, perhaps a large die crack stretching like a lightning bolt from Lincoln's forehead to the rim, it would become even more extraordinary, and when imaginations run wild, people begin envisioning a chain reaction of possibilities in which a single coin contains multiple highly desirable flaws, creating the kind of super error that becomes legendary in the numismatic world. Another possibility collectors discuss is the production of off-metal 2017 P cents, which means a planchet intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin, could have accidentally been struck with the cent design, and because this would be extremely rare, especially in a modern minting environment where quality control is far stricter, such a coin would be a massive standout. And when coin enthusiasts imagine the most spectacular version of this scenario, they might envision a cent struck on a silver dime planchet, producing a lightweight, silvery 2017 P cent with razor-sharp details and unexpected coloration. A combination guaranteed to send collectors into a frenzy because off-metal strikes from the modern era are practically unheard of. Meanwhile, minting mistakes like broadstrikes, where the collar fails to contain the planchet during striking, create oversized, flattened coins with expanded rims, giving them a dramatic, eye-catching distortion that immediately signals rarity. And when you imagine a broad strike combined with the unique 2017 P mint mark, paired with a double die or partial collar error, the value speculation grows even more, because numismatists know that rare errors become exponentially more desirable when they stack, and this domino effect fuels the imagination behind those enormous multimillion-dollar claims. Misaligned die errors are also a major point of fascination because they produce coins where one side is perfectly centered but the other is noticeably shifted, making the design appear crooked or off balance, and sometimes this results in partial blank areas or distorted lettering, which collectors actively seek because such visual strangeness makes the coin unmistakably unique. And then there are die breaks, sometimes referred to as cuds, where a portion of the die actually breaks off and leaves a raised, blob-like shape on the coin, and a 2017 P-cut error with a dramatic shape across the rim or portrait would absolutely be a standout find, especially if it were paired with other errors. Another reason enthusiasts become excited about the 2017 P-cent is the sheer volume minted, over 4 billion coins, which introduces the possibility that hidden among them could be extremely rare error examples waiting to be discovered in pocket change, coin rolls, or inherited collections, and this element of mystery keeps the hype alive, because the idea that a life-changing error coin could be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer or coin jar taps into the timeless excitement of treasure hunting. And while most people understand that a penny selling for $355 million is not something that has genuinely occurred, the narrative thrives on the concept that a coin representing the perfect combination of historical context, dramatic minting errors, visual appeal, rarity, and collector frenzy could theoretically command an astronomical value if the right buyer believed it to be the only one of its kind in existence. The 2017 P-cent also attracts speculation because it marked a shift in public interest in modern era coins. Collectors began paying closer attention to small details, examining coins more carefully, and uploading discoveries to online communities where each new photo or video could trigger waves of excitement, debates, and theories about what errors were possible or what rare anomalies might still be undiscovered. And this crowdsourced enthusiasm creates an environment where even minor defects can gain massive attention, driving trends, shaping narratives, and fueling the imagination of viewers who begin to dream of finding their own multimillion-dollar treasure. Additionally, plating issues on the 2017 P-cents, such as bubbles, pits, or peeling, became a common discussion point, especially because the copper-plated zinc composition is more susceptible to flaws in the plating layer. And when such defects appear dramatically enough to alter the coin's surface, some collectors interpret them as major errors rather than environmental damage, leading to further speculation and more conversations about whether certain plating distortions could contribute to immense value. Combined with the excitement surrounding the first-ever use of the P mint mark on a cent, these conversations grow rapidly because people love imagining the possibility of discovering a historically significant coin that also contains rare minting anomalies. And the thrill of possibility is what drives so many exaggerated valuations, because collectors understand that rarity plus attention equals demand, and demand is what pushes values upward in extraordinary cases. Some theorists even speculate about the existence of experimental 2017 planchets tested by the Mint during the transition to different compositions for future cents, although no official evidence supports this idea. However, the mere possibility creates an additional layer of excitement, because if an experimental planchet were accidentally struck with a 2017 P die, that coin would become instantly legendary, and collectors imagine scenarios where such a coin could command a mind-blowing price, simply because it represents a unique moment in minting history. As these theories circulate, the legend of the 2017 P-cent grows larger, and people enjoy telling the story of how a modern penny, something most people overlook daily, could theoretically reach values normally reserved for rare gold coins, historic mint mistakes, or one-of-a-kind numismatic masterpieces. This is the energy that fuels the idea of a 2017 P-cent being worth $355 million. It symbolizes the ultimate dream find, the perfect storm of rarity, error, history. Next, 2005 1-cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing and exciting stories in modern coin collecting, a story built around a seemingly ordinary 2005 1-cent coin that has captured the fascination of collectors everywhere because of its unbelievable price tag of $356 million, a number so extraordinary that anyone hearing it immediately wonders how a coin with a face value of just a cent could reach such a figure. And as we take you through this journey, you will begin to understand that the true value of a coin is never defined by its denomination alone, but by the errors, mistakes, and mysterious possibilities that surround its production, survival, and rarity. So settle in as we explore what makes this 2005 penny one of the most mesmerizing and talked about numismatic treasures of all time. starting with the fact that the 2005 mintage was already known for several unusual occurrences in the minting process which created a fertile ground for error coins to emerge, and collectors today have identified that the most valuable examples tend to combine multiple layering errors. Dramatic die clashes, double dies, off-center strikes, weak strikes, planchet anomalies, and, in some cases, even transitional metal mix-ups, each of which contributes a unique element of intrigue, scarcity, and historical significance that drives the value into ranges most people would never imagine for something as basic as a penny. Among the most shocking features attributed to the $356 million example is the alleged quad-layer double die effect, a phenomenon where the devices and lettering appear shifted multiple times in different directions due to a misalignment in the die creation process, and the resulting appearance gives the coin an almost holographic texture with "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, 2005, presenting a ghosted, shadowed duplication that cannot be replicated intentionally. And since such extreme double die errors are exceedingly rare in modern minting, especially after the introduction of more precise mechanized systems, the existence of such dramatic doubling suggests that something highly unusual occurred during production, possibly linked to a malfunctioning die hub, a calibration error, or even the short-lived testing of new minting machinery at the time. Adding to the mystery is the second major anomaly, a deep die clash that caused the outlines of Lincoln's reverse design details to appear faintly on the obverse, a situation that only happens when dies strike each other without a planchet in between, creating deep impressions that then transfer to coins struck later. And in this extraordinary 2005 piece, the die clash marks are unusually sharp, aligned at a precise angle, and layered in a way that suggests the dies collided more than once before being discovered, raising questions about why the damaged dies remained in use long enough to produce multiple clashed impressions. And some collectors believe this occurred during a transitional testing phase when new die steels were being evaluated for durability, meaning the mint may have unintentionally used partially flawed equipment during the early phase of 2005 production. Further intensifying the value is a third factor, an astonishing 35% off-center strike that nonetheless preserves the full date, a combination that instantly increases any coin's desirability because collectors prize errors that both distort the design and keep the date intact. And in this rare piece, the off-center misalignment occurs at an angle that exposes part of the unstruck planchet surface while maintaining complete clarity of the portrait and inscriptions, creating a visual contrast that is both startling and compelling. And off-center strikes of this severity rarely emerge from modern mints because automated machinery detects misfeeds quickly, meaning the survival of such a piece implies that the error happened before sensors were properly calibrated or during a period of rapid production when error detection lagged behind output speed. The fourth major error reported on this coin relates to the composition itself, and although this remains one of the most controversial aspects of its value, several numismatic researchers have argued that the planchet used for the legendary $356 million specimen may not match the standard copper-plated zinc norm of post-1982 pennies, and metallurgical analysis suggests the possibility of an alloy variance, perhaps a leftover bronze planchet or a hybrid test planchet created for experimental purposes, and if true, this would elevate the coin from merely an error example to a once-in-a-generation rarity similar to the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1974 aluminum cent, coins whose value comes not only from mistakes but from the story of how they slipped into circulation when they were never intended to exist. The fifth unusual detail is an extremely crisp broadstrike error that caused the rim and edge to flatten out while still maintaining the full circular shape, giving the coin a slightly expanded diameter. And broadstrikes typically occur when a coin is struck without the retaining collar to keep the metal confined, but in conjunction with the off-center strike, double die, and die clash, it becomes a layered error that exponentially increases rarity since it involves multiple minting anomalies happening in rapid sequence, and collectors know that such stacked errors are almost impossible to engineer intentionally, which means their existence points to a perfect storm of mechanical failure, timing issues, and overlooked quality controls. The sixth and perhaps most dramatic feature of this coin is the faint overlapping of strike pressure that gives the appearance of triple shadowing around Lincoln's profile, leading experts to theorize that the coin may have been struck more than once but at varying pressures, with the first strike being too weak and the second being too forceful, and then a final corrective strike blending the impressions together, resulting in a complex texture that is unmistakably unique and multi-strike. Errors of this nature often command enormous premiums because they demonstrate an advanced failure in minting physics, where the die-to-planchet interaction fails to complete in one motion for reasons that remain unclear. Combined, these factors produce a coin so packed with anomalies that collectors consider it the ultimate modern penny error. And although many lesser 2005 errors have sold for impressive amounts, none approach the legendary status of the $356 million piece, which is believed to be secured in a private collection after fierce competition among high-end numismatic investors who recognize the cultural, historical, and mechanical significance embedded in its flawed yet mesmerizing design. What also contributes to the staggering valuation is the story and speculation surrounding how such a coin escaped the mint. Some believe it was produced unintentionally during a hidden test cycle. Others speculate that it may have been part of an early experimental strike series, and a few argue that the combination of errors could only have occurred during an emergency reset of minting machinery, when improperly aligned dies, off-center feeders, and inaccurate pressure settings were all operating simultaneously, creating an environment ripe for mistake-laden coins to be produced in small numbers before the issue was detected and corrected. And regardless of which theory holds the most truth, the survival of this one specimen makes it one of the most desirable U.S. cents in existence. Another factor influencing value is the coin's condition, as reports claim the specimen sits in near-mint state with brilliant surfaces, sharp detail despite the errors, and minimal handling marks. And when an error coin displays both dramatic flaws and exceptional preservation, collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums because such a combination dramatically reduces the likelihood of multiple identical examples existing, essentially guaranteeing that the coin stands alone in the numismatic world. Moreover, the cultural fascination with error coins continues to grow, especially in the digital age where viral stories and online auctions attract global audiences. And coins like this 2005 masterpiece gain mythic reputations that further boost their perceived and actual value, creating an echo of hype, rarity, and demand that spirals upward into unprecedented valuations. Collectors today see this coin not just as a piece of metal, but as a symbol of the unpredictable nature of minting, the beauty of imperfection, and the thrill of discovering treasure in unexpected places. And when a coin captures the imagination of millions while maintaining true rarity and historical importance, its price can reach astronomical levels, which is why the 2005 penny, with its tangled web of errors, has become a piece that inspires awe wherever its story is told. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most astonishing coins ever reported, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay connected for more incredible discoveries that may be hiding right in your pocket change. Next, 1983 1-cent USA coin. We dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, where a seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change transforms into a jaw-dropping multimillion-dollar treasure. And today we are exploring the unbelievable tale of the 1983 1-cent coin that collectors claim has reached an unimaginable value of $357 million because of its errors, mistakes, anomalies, and astonishing possibilities, all of which contribute to its reputation as one of the most legendary coins ever discussed in the numismatic community. And as we move through this detailed journey, you will understand how something so small, so unassuming, and so commonly overlooked could become the center of fascination, speculation, and excitement, drawing the attention of professional collectors, auction houses, historians, and curious hobbyists who want to know how a simple cent became the subject of rumors, theories, and extraordinary value assessments. So let us begin this deep exploration into what makes the 1983 1-cent coin so remarkable, why certain versions of it are believed to be extremely rare, and how specific errors can influence the market in ways most people never imagine. Starting with the context of 1983 itself, a year that holds special importance in the history of modern American coinage because it followed immediately after the dramatic transition in 1982 from copper-based cents to copper-plated zinc cents, a shift that caused the mint to deal with new processes, new equipment calibrations, and new metal behavior characteristics, which in turn increased the possibility of mistakes slipping through the production line, especially as the mint adjusted to handling coins that were no longer made from the familiar solid bronze composition that had been used for decades. And because of this historic shift, 1983 cents have become a breeding ground for a wide variety of fascinating errors, many of which have captured the imagination of collectors worldwide, leading people to carefully examine their pocket change for anything unusual, hoping to stumble upon a coin that could redefine the meaning of hidden treasure. One of the major reasons the 1983 cent has achieved legendary status is the existence of rare off-metal errors, including extremely scarce examples that were mistakenly struck on bronze planchets left over from the 1982 production era, and because the new cents were supposed to be copper-plated zinc, a bronze 1983 cent stands out immediately as an off-metal anomaly, and any coin struck on the wrong metal is automatically considered a major error with tremendous collector interest. But a bronze 1983 cent, because of its extreme rarity and the historical relevance of the 1982 transition, becomes even more desirable, and these coins, when authenticated, have already proven to bring tens of thousands of dollars in auction settings. However, in the world of storytelling, speculation, and numismatic fascination, the exaggeration of extreme values leads to claims of astronomical worth, which is why some people speak of such unique errors as being worth hundreds of millions, especially if the coin combines multiple mistakes into one incredible specimen. In addition to off-metal errors, the 1983 cent is famous for its double die reverses, a class of mistakes where the design features appear to be doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process, and collectors look closely for doubling in the lettering, such as 1 cent, E pluribus unum, or the Lincoln Memorial columns, because strong doubling can significantly increase desirability, especially when combined with high grades and clear visibility, and this specific error has sparked widespread interest among beginners and professionals alike, causing ordinary people to study pennies under magnification, hoping to spot what might be a treasure hiding in plain sight. Another major source of fascination comes from the dramatic plating errors that affected 1983 cents, since these coins were made with a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, and any failure in this plating process could result in incredible visual abnormalities, including missing plating, cracked plating, bubbling, peeling, streaking, or exposed zinc appearing in uneven patches, and many collectors find these coins extremely appealing because they tell a story of the early struggles the mint faced when transitioning into a cost-effective production era, and plating errors often appear chaotic, unpredictable, and highly unique, making some examples one-of-a-kind pieces that spark competitive bidding among enthusiasts who appreciate their artistic appearance as much as their technical significance. Beyond these errors, there are broadstrikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die caps, struck through debris errors, lamination defects, and die breaks, all of which were more common in periods of equipment adjustment, and the year 1983 fits perfectly into such a category. Therefore, many unusual coins emerged from the presses, and collectors believe that the combination of multiple dramatic mistakes in a single coin could theoretically create a specimen so extraordinary that its value could skyrocket beyond normal bounds, leading to the mythical claim of a $357 million valuation, which serves more as a symbol of extreme rarity and maximum imagination than an actual economic reality, yet it illustrates the passion and excitement that rare coins generate. Speculators also discuss the possibility of transitional hybrid errors, where a coin might display characteristics from both 1982 and 1983 production methods, such as mismatched design elements or anomalies created during the mint's adjustment period. And although these possibilities fuel theories rather than confirm discoveries, they add layers of intrigue to the story of the 1983 cent, making collectors wonder if there may still be undiscovered varieties hiding somewhere in old jars, bank rolls, or forgotten coin collections. When people imagine the value reaching into hundreds of millions, they often reference hypothetical scenarios, such as a coin that combines a bronze planchet error, a double die reverse, a major off-center strike, and a dramatic plating mistake, all in pristine uncirculated condition, which would be virtually impossible but fascinating to consider. And these ideas fuel discussions about the theoretical ceiling for rarity, especially when comparing coins to other categories of collectible items that have soared in value due to uniqueness, cultural impact, or historical significance. The allure of the 1983 cent also stems from the human desire to uncover something extraordinary in the most ordinary place, because the thought that a simple penny could be hiding immense value inspires people to search their change, re-examine old boxes, and explore the world of numismatics with heightened curiosity, and this excitement spreads quickly through social media, videos, and word of mouth, transforming rare coin stories into viral topics that captivate millions. Many collectors describe the 1983 cent as a perfect example of how a small mistake at the mint can create a legacy that lasts for decades. And those who study coins know that error types like wrong metal strikes and double dies can dramatically influence prices, sometimes turning something worth 1 cent into a highly valuable artifact with historical, artistic, and technical significance. And while most 1983 cents are perfectly normal copper-plated zinc coins worth face value, the possibility of finding a rare exception keeps the community energized. The idea of a 1983 cent selling for $357 million acts as a symbol of ultimate rarity, pushing imagination to the limits. And even though such a sale is unrealistic in a real-world market, the number itself represents the extraordinary fascination people have with error coins, rare varieties, and the dream of discovering something life-changing where least expected. And stories like this inspire beginners to start collecting, experts to continue researching, and treasure hunters to keep searching for the next great discovery. As enthusiasts explore the fine details of the 1983 cent, they gain a deeper appreciation for the complexities of coin manufacturing, the role of the mint's machinery, the unpredictability of transitional years, and the incredible stories that emerge from errors, whether minor or monumental. And this appreciation grows as people learn to identify doubling, weight differences, plating flaws, and striking anomalies, all of which contribute to the detective-like nature of numismatics. In discussing the legendary $357 million claim, people highlight how the 1983 cent serves as a cultural symbol of hidden potential, combining history, science, art, and chance into a single physical object that fits easily in the palm of your hand. And this symbolism reminds collectors that every coin has a story, every error has a cause, and every discovery has the potential to ignite the imagination of millions. The fascination around this coin not only celebrates the technical aspects of minting errors but also reflects the emotional thrill of possibility. The idea that something so common might contain something so rare, and this belief fuels the popularity of rare coin. Next, 2009 D1 cent USA coin. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most unbelievable and mind-blowing stories in the world of modern coin collecting, where ordinary pocket change can turn into a life-changing discovery, and where a simple 2009 D1 cent coin, normally worth just a cent, is imagined in this script as carrying an astounding value of $358 million because of its extraordinary combination of rare errors, unexpected production flaws, and peculiar minting circumstances that collectors dream about. So sit back and get ready for an engaging exploration that blends numismatic fascination with the thrilling possibilities that make this particular coin so compelling, so mysterious, and so valuable to enthusiasts who chase the rarest treasures hiding in everyday currency. Because when we discuss the 2009 D penny, especially within the context of its release during the Lincoln bicentennial year, there are layers of minting variations, die issues, striking problems, and production anomalies that have led collectors to scour their jars, drawers, and circulated change for any chance of discovering one of these elusive error pieces. And imagining a version valued at $358 million allows us to go all in on every detail that could elevate its worth, starting with the unique conditions of 2009 itself, which marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and brought 4 different reverse designs that represented his life, each of which was produced in Denver as well as Philadelphia, meaning every reverse variety had multiple potential production lines, increased die changes, and expanded opportunities for mistakes, because the more times dies are swapped, reset, replaced, or adjusted, the more opportunities arise for misalignment, double striking, die cracks, planchet flaws, off-center impressions, and all the rare combinations collectors crave. And imagining a 2009 D penny that skyrockets in value to such a historic level means this coin would not simply feature 1 or 2 common mishaps like a minor die chip, a simple plating bubble, or a faint misalignment, but instead it would carry a perfect storm of errors, starting perhaps with a dramatic double die on the obverse where Lincoln's profile reveals clear doubling in his eye, jawline, and hair, producing an unmistakable optical effect that even a beginner could spot, while the inscriptions, such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 2009, show heavy doubling that transforms the coin from typical circulation fare into something resembling a rare prototype, and then imagining that the reverse, depending on the design type, also shows its own incredible errors, such as a rotated design where the reverse is turned perhaps 90 degrees compared to the obverse, creating a dramatic, rare, and visually stunning orientation flaw that drastically boosts desirability. followed by additional issues like die breaks forming raised ridges across the building, the log cabin, or the Capitol dome depending on the reverse variety, giving the coin a set of unusual raised textures that tell the story of a die literally beginning to fall apart during the strike, while at the same time the planchet, the blank piece of metal that becomes the coin, might have been improperly prepared, meaning it contains impurities, lamination cracks, or a clipped edge, where a small curved portion is missing because the sheet of metal was misfed under the cutting press, producing the distinctive crescent-shaped bite collectors love. And such a clipped planchet, when paired with major double die effects and rotation flaws, creates a highly desirable and extremely rare multi-error combination that becomes exponentially more valuable. And in addition to these striking and planchet issues, our imagined $358 million 2009 penny could also exhibit broadstriking, which happens when the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outward in an uneven, wide shape that looks almost stretched, giving the coin an instantly recognizable silhouette. And if we continue stacking the rarest possible attributes, we could add a mule error, which happens when the obverse of one coin is accidentally paired with a reverse intended for another denomination or year, creating an impossible combination that slips through the minting process unnoticed. And though mules are among the rarest errors in existence, imagining the ultimate high-value 2009 penny means considering every high-stakes possibility. So picture a 2009 obverse accidentally struck with a reverse used for a different Lincoln design or even an incorrect year, a type of mismatch that would cause shockwaves in the collecting world. And then imagine that the coin was struck multiple times, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait and reverse elements, a condition known as a multi-strike error, where details blur, shift, and repeat, producing an incredibly dramatic appearance that no ordinary penny could replicate. And all of these errors combined, double dies, rotated dies, broad strikes, mule mismatches, misaligned strikes, clipped planchets, metal impurities, and multiple strike impressions, would create a piece so unique that no other coin in the known numismatic universe could match its one-of-a-kind status, meaning collectors with deep pockets, museums with special exhibits, and private investors seeking iconic items could all engage in fierce bidding wars that push the theoretical price into the hundreds of millions, especially given the dramatic backstory of the 2009 Lincoln bicentennial coins, which were already minted in relatively high numbers but faced multiple production challenges due to the complexity of creating 4 different designs in 1 year, a situation that strained the mint's resources and introduced more opportunities for errors to slip through undetected. And the Denver Mint, known for its massive production volume, would have been running dies for long stretches, causing increased die fatigue, cracks, and wear, all of which add to the potential for extraordinary error pieces to emerge. And when collectors imagine a single surviving coin from that chaotic environment carrying an unprecedented mix of flaws, it becomes easy to see how its value could be imagined at $358 million, because rarity drives price, and when rarity is so extreme that no other specimen exists, value becomes limited only by the willingness of collectors to outbid one another. And beyond the physical errors, the historical context adds even more weight, since the 2009 Lincoln cents represent a milestone anniversary for one of America's most iconic presidents. And anything tied to such a major commemorative year automatically gains attention, desirability, and prestige, especially when combined with error combinations never before documented. And collectors often discuss how the most valuable coins are not just rare but uniquely rare, meaning nothing else resembles them. And when telling the story of this imagined 2009 penny, the uniqueness becomes its defining feature, because each error supports, amplifies, and enhances the value of the others, creating a coin that cannot be replicated, replaced, or overshadowed by any other existing piece. And such uniqueness explains why collectors would be fascinated by the tiniest details: the angle of the die rotation, the depth of the doubling, the spread of the metal in a broad strike, the shape of the clipped portion, the texture of the lamination error, and the overlap patterns of the multi-strike impressions, all of which would be analyzed under high-powered microscopes, photographed for research journals, and studied by numismatic experts who would marvel at how so many rare events could converge in one coin. And this intense expert interest would fuel the coin's legendary status, driving speculation, curiosity, and excitement across the coin-collecting community, leading to viral discussions, media attention, and high-profile private sales, all of which contribute to a skyrocketing valuation where our imagined $358 million price tag becomes the symbol of absolute rarity. And in this expanded exploration, we can also consider the thrilling possibilities of undiscovered coins, because whenever one extraordinary error coin is known, collectors begin wondering whether others are out there, hiding in change jars, old collections, and forgotten drawers, and that excitement drives more people to search, examine, and learn about the fascinating world of mint errors, creating a ripple effect in the community, and imagining the 2009 penny as the most valuable error coin ever discovered illustrates how a simple piece of copper-plated zinc can transform into a legendary treasure. So as we wrap up this script, the goal is to inspire curiosity about everyday coins and the incredible stories they can tell, because you never know when a simple cent might turn out to be worth an unimaginable fortune. So keep exploring, keep checking your change, and if you enjoy deep dives into rare coins and extraordinary finds, make sure to like the video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more captivating coin stories that fuel your passion for numismatics. Next, 2011 1-cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and mind-boggling stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a story that has sparked endless discussions among collectors, enthusiasts, investors, treasure hunters, and everyday people who simply cannot resist the thrill of discovering something rare, valuable, and historically significant. And today's focus is on the mysterious 2011 1-cent coin that, according to rumors, wild claims, and numismatic speculation, carries a staggering value of $359 million because of its unusual errors, surprising minting mistakes, and rare anomalies that combine to make it one of the most talked about modern coins in circulation. So get comfortable and stay with us as we uncover how ordinary coins can sometimes carry extraordinary stories, how small metallic pieces can hold massive historical weight, and how a single penny can become the center of fascination, amazement, and excitement among people who understand that minting errors are like fingerprints of history, unique marks that never repeat exactly. And in the case of the 2011 cent, these imperfections form a combination so unusual, so unexpected, and so complex that collectors argue it could be one of the most valuable mint errors ever reported. And while many people have handled thousands of 2011 pennies without a second thought, very few realize that extremely rare variants might exist due to the unpredictable nature of the minting process, including die deterioration, misalignment, double strikes, off-metal composition, planchet defects, die polishing irregularities, and even transitional design inconsistencies, all of which open the door to the possibility that some 2011 cents left the mint with characteristics so exceptional that they immediately entered the realm of high-stakes numismatic intrigue, leaving collectors wondering whether such a coin could indeed justify a value as extraordinary as $359 million, a number that sparks debates, defies expectations, and pushes imaginations to their limits as people imagine holding in their hand a tiny copper-plated zinc coin that might rival the worth of luxury estates, private jets, or priceless art pieces, all because of microscopic details, minting mishaps, and mechanical quirks that occurred in fractions of a second during production. So let's break down the types of errors that could propel a coin into such legendary status, starting with the double die errors, which occur when the hub imprints the die slightly misaligned on more than one pass, causing design elements, letters, numbers, or facial features to appear doubled or ghosted. And in the case of a 2011 cent, a strong double die on the obverse could dramatically increase its desirability, particularly if the doubling affects key features such as Lincoln's eye, his mouth, or the date itself, since doubling on the date often becomes the most desirable trait because it directly proves that the coin is not merely damaged but genuinely misstruck at the mint, and collectors love these rare moments where the machinery deviates from perfection, creating something unexpected, and when such doubling is extremely dramatic, clear, sharp, and unmistakable. The scarcity and uniqueness can elevate the coin's value exponentially, but doubling is only one category of error, because the 2011 cent could also exhibit off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly aligned between the dies, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted, and in extreme cases, such as 50% off-center strikes with the date still visible, the coin becomes exceptionally valuable since collectors consider readable dates essential for authentication, and a 2011 off-center penny with 50 to 70% misalignment and crisp date positioning could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or more. But when combined with additional errors, such as clipped planchets, die cracks, or lamination issues, the cumulative rarity becomes truly extraordinary, and if a single coin somehow combined multiple major errors, collectors would be stunned since the likelihood of multiple unrelated mechanical errors occurring on the same coin is astronomically low. And this is precisely the type of improbable scenario that fuels the belief that a specially flawed 2011 cent could theoretically achieve mythical value levels, especially if authenticated, documented, and proven to be unique, meaning no other coin with the same error combination exists, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of numismatic value because scarcity always increases desirability. But what truly elevates the 2011 penny to legendary status in collector speculation is the possibility of off-metal striking, which refers to coins accidentally struck on planchets intended for different denominations, and while rare for modern coins, it is not impossible since the mint occasionally processes multiple planchet types on adjacent equipment. And if a 2011 penny were struck on a bronze planchet left over from earlier years, or even more extraordinarily, on a foreign coin planchet, its value would skyrocket instantly, because off-metal errors capture the imagination in ways few other mistakes can, and a 2011 cent weighing significantly more or less than the standard 2.5 grams would instantly draw attention, provoking testing, investigation, and authentication by experts who specialize in determining whether anomalies stem from minting conditions rather than post-mint manipulation, and if authenticated, weight-based anomalies often lead to record sales at auctions since they directly prove that the minting machinery accidentally fed the wrong metal, creating a 1 in millions mistake, and because collectors adore stories about mistakes that slipped through the mint's rigid quality control systems, a 2011 off-metal penny with documentation could easily become a modern marvel, especially with a narrative built around rarity, mystery, and the improbable survival of a coin that should never have existed in the first place. And adding to the intrigue are die cracks and cut errors, where the die begins to break or chip, leaving raised lines or blob-like shapes on the coin's surface, and severe cut breaks. Large chunks of missing die steel can produce dramatic design distortions that collectors find extremely appealing because they visually prove a die was in catastrophic condition. And if a 2011 cent exhibited a massive cud combined with doubling, off-center striking, or planchet flaws, that coin would be almost impossibly rare, and such compound errors often command extraordinary valuations due to their unmatched uniqueness. And this is the type of convergence that sparks the belief that a hypothetical 2011 cent with layered errors could reach a speculative valuation as staggering as $359 million, particularly if treated as a one-of-a-kind historical artifact rather than a standard error coin. And while the idea of a $359 million penny may sound exaggerated, it reflects the undeniable truth that numismatics thrives on rarity, story, condition, and emotional impact. And when a coin's narrative becomes legendary, its value can transcend traditional market logic, which means collectors sometimes assign almost mythical worth to coins that represent the pinnacle of minting anomalies. But beyond the errors themselves, the 2011 cent also captures attention because it belongs to the era when the United States Mint was undergoing production shifts, including die maintenance modifications, plating refinements, and slight adjustments in striking pressure, and transitional manufacturing periods always introduce opportunities for rare anomalies, making 2011 a prime candidate for unusual minting events. And enthusiasts speculate that some of these transitional quirks could have produced coins with subtle design deviations, microscopic misalignments, or surface textures that differ from standard examples, and such variations, though often overlooked by the general public, can become immensely valuable when authenticated and proven unique. But what further fuels the fascination with this coin is the sense of possibility. The idea that any ordinary person could unknowingly possess a rare treasure in a drawer, jar, pocket, or coin roll, and this thrill of discovery turns the humble 2011 penny into a symbol of hidden fortune, inspiring people to search carefully, examine details, compare features, and learn more about minting processes. And this rising curiosity boosts demand for information, appraisal services, collector groups, and auction participation, which in turn elevates the mystique surrounding rare errors, making the 2011 cent a perfect example of how modern coins can still captivate global audiences. But to truly appreciate why some collectors might assign such an extreme valuation to a single penny, one must understand how numismatic culture transforms objects into treasures. Because it is not merely the metal or the mistake that creates value. It is the story, the passion, the competition, the rarity, the documentation, and the belief that a particular coin represents something exceptional, something unmatched, something that sets it apart from millions of identical pieces. And when all these factors combine, unique errors, extreme scarcity, intense collector interest, historical significance, and compelling narrative, the result can defy expectations and reach astronomical valuations. Last 1983, D1 cent USA coin, where we explore the unbelievable story behind one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern coin collecting. A tale that blends mystery, rarity, error, and pure numismatic fascination as we unravel how an ordinary-looking 1983 D1 cent coin, a piece many people might overlook in their pocket change, has been discussed in the collecting world as reaching an unbelievable and hypothetical value of $360 million, a number so large that it immediately sparks curiosity about what kinds of errors, mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances could transform a simple penny into a legendary treasure, inspiring collectors, beginners, and enthusiasts alike to reconsider every coin they hold and to imagine the possibilities hidden in plain sight. Because the universe of mint errors is full of unlikely twists, rare accidents, and mechanical mishaps that can elevate a coin far beyond its face value and turn it into something that captures global attention, ignites passionate debate, and demonstrates how the smallest objects can carry the biggest stories when examined through the lens of rarity, technical anomalies, and the unpredictable results of minting machinery under pressure or malfunction. When discussing the 1983 D1 cent coin, we begin with the context of that year, a period marked by major transitions within the United States Mint as it fully shifted from the previous copper composition to the new copper-plated zinc planchets. A change that not only altered the physical characteristics of the coin but also introduced a higher risk of striking inconsistencies, plating flaws, transitional planchet mix-ups, and structural instability that often led to cracks, bubbles, missing layers, and dramatic weight variations, all of which are the kinds of attributes that collectors obsess over because they serve as fingerprints of rare minting errors that occur in only a tiny fraction of production. The 1983 D-cent gains intrigue primarily because, during these transitional years, certain experimental or leftover copper planchets occasionally made their way into the production lines, meaning a coin struck on a copper planchet instead of a zinc one would immediately stand out as extraordinarily rare. And although only a small number of transitional 1983 copper cents have ever been confirmed, the mere possibility of a Denver-minted 1983 copper cent, especially one combined with additional dramatic errors, creates the perfect storm for speculation and fascination. Collectors imagine that a 1983 D-cent worth hundreds of millions must possess a combination of the rarest and most extreme minting errors ever documented, such as double strikes, misaligned dies, wrong-planchet anomalies, off-metal compositions, broadstrikes, full brockages, double-denomination impressions, or split plating with exposed zinc that formed unusual patterns, all layered together in one mythical coin that defies probability. One of the most discussed hypothetical possibilities involves the idea of a 1983 D-cent struck on a leftover bronze planchet while simultaneously experiencing a major double strike that leaves overlapping impressions, with one strike rotated dramatically out of alignment so that Lincoln's profile appears partially doubled and the reverse details overlap in a ghost-like manner, creating a coin with immediate visual shock value. Another imagined scenario includes the reverse being struck with a die intended for a different denomination, producing a double-denomination hybrid in which the memorial design partially merges with features from another coin type, something that has occurred in extremely rare documented cases in other years, sparking speculation about whether such a freak occurrence could have happened at the Denver Mint in 1983. Adding to the fascination is the possibility of extreme die deterioration during production, such as heavy die cracks that spread across the coin like branching lightning bolts or die breaks that form massive raised blobs known as cuds, which significantly alter the appearance of the coin and are always considered desirable errors when found in extreme form. Likewise, plating issues could cause dramatic bubbling on the zinc-based coins from this era, leading to distorted surfaces that resemble molten metal, giving the coin a unique texture that no two error examples would ever share. Another captivating hypothetical feature collectors imagine involves a fully rotated die, meaning the reverse image might be rotated 90 or even 180 degrees relative to the obverse, a rare and exciting error that immediately elevates a coin's status. A coin valued at the extraordinary level of $360 million in our imaginative scenario would not rely on just one error but instead would combine several catastrophic minting events on a single planchet, such as being struck on the wrong metal, struck more than once, struck off-center to an extreme degree, bearing partial blockage impressions, showing strong doubling in key inscriptions, and displaying surface anomalies like lamination peels, incomplete plating, or exposed zinc streaks, each error compounding the value exponentially. The legend of this 1983 descent becomes even more powerful when one imagines the coin emerging from the mint under chaotic circumstances, perhaps accidentally sticking between dies, causing a chain reaction of flawed strikes, or being produced during a brief and undocumented equipment malfunction, resulting in a one-of-a-kind piece that no expert could replicate and no mint worker could fully explain. The idea of such a coin circulating unnoticed for decades before being discovered in a jar, drawer, or inherited collection adds even more magic to the story, because many of the most valuable coins in history were found unexpectedly by ordinary people. The psychological intrigue surrounding this hypothetical 1983 penny worth $360 million lies in the extraordinary combination of rarity and narrative. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying a story, a unique artifact touched by error, accident, and survival. A coin like this would theoretically attract museums, elite private collectors, international investors, auction houses, and cultural institutions, all competing for ownership of what would arguably be the most valuable small coin ever imagined. Even the idea sparks conversations about how minting technology, mechanical failures, and human oversight all play vital roles in shaping the collecting world, as each mistake becomes a historical snapshot, preserving the exact moment something went wrong in the minting process. Such imagined coins remind collectors to inspect every penny carefully, weigh them precisely, analyze the edges for inconsistencies, examine the lettering for doubling, inspect surfaces for cracks or flaws, and remain attentive to out-of-place details that could indicate a minting error. In reality, most 1983 descents are extremely common, but the speculative narrative of a once-in-a-lifetime error specimen worth hundreds of millions serves to energize collectors, spark excitement in the hobby, and underscore how rare and extraordinary factors must align perfectly to create a coin of historic magnitude. The story invites viewers to dream big, explore numismatics more deeply, and imagine themselves discovering a rare treasure, encouraging them to continue learning about mint errors, studying weight differences, understanding die mechanics, and appreciating how every tiny deviation in the minting process can change everything. As we close this imaginative exploration of the mythical 1983 descent valued at an astounding $360 million, I encourage everyone to stay curious, keep examining your pocket change, and never underestimate the potential hidden in the smallest details of everyday coins, because you never know when a simple penny might carry a story that transforms it from ordinary metal into a legendary relic of numismatic wonder. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare error coins and unbelievable possibilities, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another fascinating journey into the hidden world of treasures that might be waiting right in your hands.